Today is Monday, January 11th, 2021. Coming up on Unfiltered, the House has released its resolution to impeach Donald Trump a second time, charging him with incitement insurrection. We'll talk with Congressman Al Green and Benny Thompson, who chaired the Committee on Homeland Security. Right, terrorists say they're not done yet, threatening more attacks leading Inauguration Day. Terrorism expert Malcolm will join us. Also, problems when it comes to domestic terrorists. They are on no-fly list, being arrested at airports. All whining and complaining. We have some of the videos to actually show you. Also, notably filed against the Colorado police officer who held black children at gunpoint. Criminal justice organizations are calling for reforms to address systemic racism. The St. Louis, Missouri Police Department and Arkansas is one of the only states that doesn't have hate crime legislation. Republicans want to keep it that way. Civil rights professional Bob Woodson, a conservative, is here to talk about a new book that addresses poverty in America. And you're self-motivated to get mentally and physically. Don't be so concerned about having all the best abs. Our health expert will talk about how important is it to be as healthy as you can, mind, body, and spirit. Folks, it is time to bring on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the biz, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah.
Wednesday, Democrats say that's when they will schedule an impeachment against Donald Trump for insurrection that took place last week at the U.S. Capitol. And more Republicans are strongly considering vote for impeachment. Lots are angry and upset with what Donald Trump did last week when it came to inciting the folks who were there on the U.S. Capitol. Now, there are some who have tried to say, "Oh, this is really no big deal. It hasn't really been that major of a deal." But when you look at this video here and you listen to them and you see how they were attacking police officers on Capitol Hill, I guess it's not always about back in the blue. Just watch.
These guys ain't the ones that fuck the blue! Fuck the blue! We want you to go home. I'm recording, and there's so many people. It's just, they're gonna push their way up here. Bro, I see people out there get hurt. I don't want to see you get hurt. We will make a path dead ass. Like, we don't want. That's what I'm saying. We'll make a path, bro. Please, just let us make a path. Just let us make a path. When the whole country hates, I want you to go home.
This is a video here of Ashley Babbitt, the woman who was shot and killed. You're going to see her momentarily. Get the Don Winslow video ready.
There's a gun! There's a gun! There's a gun! Hey, he's got a gun! Shots fired! Shots fired!
Now, that was a shortened video versus the one that was actually, folks, just so you understand what's happening here, filmmaker Don Winslow put out his own video where he basically wanted to show people exactly what took place on the. It was really important because, again, Republicans all of a sudden are trying to say that, well, this hasn't been as bad as people make it out to be. Some are using language like it's unfortunate. Some of these writers, these domestic terrorists, even try to suggest that, well, you know, we just simply got caught up in all of this. That's not going to. That's not because they didn't just get caught up in it, folks. No, this was all planned. This was a planned attack. All right, roll it.
We will not go quietly into the night. And we need to march on the Capitol today.
We are going to take our country back.
We're coming for you, and we're going to have a good time doing it.
Let's have trial by combat.
You'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength. We're going to walk down, and I'll be there with you, to the Capitol.
In 2 hours, this woman will be dead.
We are now walking down the inaugural path to the Capitol building.
Oh, there we go.
The U.S. Capitol has been breached.
Hey, Cap.
5 minutes since Capitol breach.
I
I call on President Trump to go on national television now and demand an end to this siege.
At least one improvised explosive device has been found on the grounds of the U.S. Capitol.
Repeatedly being told by the National Guard at the national level that we did not have authorization.
We love you. You're very special. Our incredible journey is only just beginning.
So Republicans are all of a sudden talking about, can't we just get along? Can't we just be focused on the future? Can we be focused on healing America? No, there cannot be healing until there is reckoning. Joining us right now is Congressman Al Green of Houston. Congressman Green, you were one of the very first people who called for Donald Trump to initially be impeached. There were a lot of Democrats who said you were wrong for doing that. Eventually, he was indeed impeached. He was not convicted by the United States Senate. Now we see what happens when people play games, when they don't take tweets seriously, when they don't take his threats seriously. This is the result of people, especially a lot of Republicans, but even some Democrats, for playing games and saying, it really wasn't that big of a deal. Just let him say what he wants to say. Nothing's going to happen.
Yes, thank you for having me on, Roland. I greatly appreciate it. You're eminently correct. There were persons who were saying, oh, that's just Donald. Let Donald be Donald. No harm, no foul. But the president was consistently weaponizing hate. And he did it in all of its invidious forms. He did it with anti-Semitism, racism, xenophobia, Islamophobia, homophobia, all of these very insidious phobias. The president, while he was doing all of this, we were, unfortunately, not taking it seriously enough. But having lived in the segregated South, I'm a son of the segregated South, I know what hate sounds like. I know what it smells like. I was forced to go to the back door and go into those filthy waiting rooms. I know what it looks like. I've seen the anger on the faces of people who were chasing me for no reason at all. I know what it looks like. So when this started, it became very apparent to me that there would be a day of reckoning. And that day of reckoning was January 6th. Unfortunately, some people have lost their lives, and I regret that. Unfortunately, our democracy was assaulted in a way that we've not seen in my lifetime. And unfortunately, there was a takeover on live television of the Capitol of the United States of America. Gil Scott-Heron said, you know, the revolution will not be televised. Well, the insurrection was. We saw in living color on television an insurrection that ended with the Capitol being taken over. Thank God we were able to reclaim it quickly and continue our business.
The thing here that is amazing to me is that, and we showed the video, folks, if y'all can show that again, of them using an American flag to viciously beat a police officer. Another police officer died as a result of being beaten by these folks. The previous video we showed of them trying to tear down the door to get to the speaker's lobby. I mean, for any of these people to assert that this just sort of got out of hand. Capitol police officers, black Capitol police officers, talked to BuzzFeed and said they were called the N-word. The people there had radios. Yeah, they said this was an orchestrated, organized attempt to lead a coup d'etat in this country. Congressman Tim Ryan is saying 2 Capitol police officers have been suspended. One has been arrested, one for taking a selfie, another one for putting on a MAGA cap and ushering people into the Capitol. That has to greatly concern you that you actually had individuals who were there to protect folks like you who literally were joining these white domestic terrorists.
Well, there really has to be further investigation. We need to know who was aiding and abetting, taking selfies. I'm not sure that that's what you do when you have a mob that is trying to harm people and destroy property. But I will mention this to you because I think it's exceedingly important. The reason that they came with such vengeance and to do it in such a way as to almost dare the officers to respond was because of white privilege. People who had enjoyed white privilege understand that when they're stopped by the police, they can say, give me your badge number. What's your name? I'm reporting you. We, on the other hand, understand that we've got to keep our hands free and off the wheel and let people know that we're not doing anything, we're not a threat. There's just a different standard. And they in their minds have this standard that they, because of who they are, they can do things like take over the Capitol and do it what they thought would be with impunity. But I think that they're going to be, many of them, prosecuted for what they've done. But I'm grateful for what you just said about the way they were behaving and how many of members of the constabulary were out there seeming to assist, aid and abet. That has to be investigated.
The other thing is this here. Your Republican colleagues all of a sudden, oh, we need to have healing. These actions, impeaching Donald Trump again, Democrats, that's divisive. Removing him from Twitter, that's divisive. All you're going to do is further inflame his supporters. Y'all, show the video again. What the hell? I mean, these people, this further inflame? I'm sorry, that's inflame. That's. Let me look at the menacing walk. Look at how they behaved. So what the hell do we have to lose? Because they've already shown how thuggish they are. The FBI is. I mean, look at this. They were dragging away barricades that were there. They were hell bent on storming this Capitol and said, barricades be damned. Also, the FBI is now warning that these people are saying they're going to march on state capitals, armed marches. These folks are nuts. They are white domestic terrorists. And I'm sorry, I don't want to hear a damn thing from any Republican about how Democrats are not going far enough.
Well, 2 points. The first is I completely agree. It was madness. And the second is, you and I know that there's something called I'm in fear of my life, and I had to defend myself, even when certain people are running away. What happened to fear for life? If not yours, others. What happened to that? Now, a good many of the officers, I have to compliment them for what they did. But those people, it was very clear that they had intentionality associated with harm, the physicality of people. It was very clear when you start throwing the barriers away the way they did and approaching them in an aggressive fashion with various things in your hands. There was a noose, by the way, out there on a gallows. Persons had on shirts that were indicating that they were anti-Semitic. These are the kinds of things that they, unfortunately for all of us, can get away with because of white privilege. By the way, I didn't want a lot of people killed. I just want to contrast what happened here to what happens with Black Lives Matter. If these had been black folk out there, and President-elect Biden has said as much, if these had been black folk out there, you would have seen a different response to that kind of behavior. I guarantee it. I'd put my head on a chopping block. You see a different response, and we have got to make sure that we contrast this so that we can tell people that we demand respect for black lives, just as white lives have privileges, black lives have to matter.
Congresswoman Cori Bush has introduced a bill saying that the folks who incited should be expelled. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse has said the exact same thing about Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley in the United Senate. What do you believe, Congressman Al Green, should happen to these members of Congress, Republicans, who post things on social media, who make comments? You've got the new Congresswoman of Colorado who posted on that day, 1776. These people, these Republicans, they were egging this on. They were pushing this. They wanted this to happen. And damn their tweets of, we are so sorry to see the officer die. We're so sorry to see this. No, they were willing participants in this insurrection, in this hack on democracy in the United States.
Those who delivered incitive comments have to be dealt with. You can't promote something like this and do it with impunity. We have to deal with those incitive comments. And I'm told that one member made some comments that were just exceedingly beyond the pale. Well, we've got to deal with that. And if it's censure of some kind, I'm not entirely sure what the resolution would require other than an investigation. ultimately the decision will have to come before the House. You might recall we've had persons censured for other things who said things on the floor of the House, and they were not nearly to the extent of being envious and insidious as what's been said at this rally, or pardon me, this act of domestic terrorism, insurrection, if you will. So I think that there has to be a penalty, and it has to exceed what we say on the floor of the House when we're penalized.
Congressman Al Green, Congressman Bill Thompson was supposed to be with us, but apparently there's an immediate Democratic call, so you probably want to jump on that call. We certainly appreciate you joining us. Always good to have my Al brother on the show.
Honor to see you, and look to see you in Houston.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Folks, conservative media, okay, has to as well. Just so you understand, Media Matters put this video together so you listen to what Fox News and Fox Business and conservative media said leading up to January 6th.
This is a civil war, and it's getting worse and worse.
I sense there's a bit of a civil war brewing.
The last time the states got this divided was, of course, leading up to the Civil War.
Right. This is a civil war. It's not going away.
This is a cultural civil war, and these people are playing for blood.
Every time they demonize the police, people feel emboldened. They feel like it's okay for them to go out there and shoot a cop.
I don't want any harm to come to these officers, but at the same time, I'm cheering on these patriots to do whatever they have to do. Because this is a battle for America, and it's on. And we're not going to sit here and stand by.
At some point, they might come for us with masks in their hands.
If you're a Republican, if you're a Trump supporter, we're coming after you.
Anybody who thinks that this election went well, like that idiot Krebs, that guy is a Class A moron. He should be drawn and quartered, taken out at dawn and shot.
I'd actually like to go back to the old times of Tudor England. I'd put the heads on pikes, right? I'd put them at the two corners of the White House.
They're coming for you and your neighborhood.
I think we're on the verge of civil war.
I think they're just trying to destroy recklessly and aimlessly and just waiting until the smoke clears, until they have more power.
Take a good look at Seattle, Washington, Portland, Oregon, New York City, Chicago. If you vote for Joe Biden, that's going to be you next year.
Police officers, emasculated and restrained, watch it all from the sidelines, unable to help.
In the end, we're all going to have to defend ourselves. The Second Amendment is on the line now.
You have a lot of violent left-wing mobs, Antifa mobs, saying that if you don't give us power, if you don't give our political wing, the Democratic Party, power, we're going to keep terrorizing your cities.
When you send a kid to a college campus, you might be training them to overthrow your government.
Trained and professional agitators who know how to whip up a crowd, they have been trying to provoke a race war from the very, very beginning.
This is exactly what happens when you support revolutionary Marxists who want to burn down the entire system and start a race war in our country.
They want to play war. This is war.
If you steal this election from us and you put in a UN communist, corrupt, criminal Joe Biden in the White House, it's not going to be a million peaceful marchers in D.C. No, it's not.
Yo, that was conservative media. That's what they were saying. And guess what? That's how they operate. That is the mentality that we have to understand that they here. We have to realize who these people are and what they are about and how they crazed and deranged. Because why are they so upset? Because they didn't get their way. Why are they so upset? Because, frankly, didn't like the fact that black voted. This was the targeting of black people. This was the targeting of black people who voted in Atlanta, Philadelphia, Milwaukee, Detroit. That's who they targeted over and over and over. Over the various agencies went after right-wingers, Apple, Shopify, these folks. When Facebook is now saying to take down any and all content that deals with Stop the Steal. About damn time, Facebook. Y'all been sitting on your asses, letting this run and not doing enough of this stuff. That's what you were doing. So you also have, and I'm for the post right here, where Cumulus Radio told point blank, has told a couple of their personalities, you cannot continue conspiracy on happens when all of a sudden, and real clear, Cumulus, why in the hell you did before the election? So y'all are only doing this now because you don't want to be held liable because of the riot, because of the insurrection, because of the attempted coup d'etat. That's the real deal. Not only that, all of these corporations, AT&T, Dow, Hallmark, it's a whole list. Now they're announcing we are not going to give any donations to any of the Republicans who voted not to seat the electors. Oh, so y'all have supported these Republicans to the tune of millions of dollars. And all of a sudden, because of the white domestic terrorists, you don't want to candidates. Now, so what Facebook is saying, what AT&T and Dow, and I can go on and on and on, what they're all saying is we fully and readily accepted everything else. Everything else of that, we accept, it was fine with us. We're going to keep shelling the cash. Oh, but when they started climbing walls, when they started busting down doors to get into the Capitol, when they started beating Capitol police officers, all of a sudden, that's a bridge too far. Excuse me, I don't give out any gold stars for folks to do what they should have been doing. You're not going to get credit from for what you should have done a long ago. I'm Dr. Avis Jones, the Weaver, political analyst, Alpha Santiago Ali, PhD, former senior advisor for environmental justice, EPA, Teresa Lundy, principal, founder, TML Communications. Teresa, I'll share with you as somebody who deals with publicity, who deals with crisis management. All of these companies, Teresa, they're scrambling. They're scrambling because they don't want to get called out. And sure, all of these media, all of these companies, again, Amazon Web Services and Apple, Google Play, and Shopify, all of these companies who we're not going to sell your merchandise, you can't host it on here, we're not going to process credit cards. The hate existed before Wednesday, January 6th. They really are responding to 81 million who voted for Biden, targeting them. That's why they're all scrambling right now. Do what's right, Teresa.
Absolutely. You know what? I am glad that corporations are actually doing their just due. But again, it is a little bit late to the party, because when it was talking about Black Lives Matters and the protests that we were doing as we were fighting for our own civil rights peacefully, might add, I think the urgency of social media platforms and some of the conservative talks happening with anchors, it almost like divided some of the notion that it was up to them to kind of make a decision what they wanted to do to either keep our voice alive or to just ignore it. And I think corporations are seeing that far too often that we were being ignored, that the 81 million people that was for Joe Biden are now about to be in the position where they are calling out these corporations, they're calling out these social media apps, and now everybody's in crisis management mode and want to put out their statements. But I think it's still too far, it's too late. But I'm happy it's happening, but I want to know for how long. So how many, more companies are going to, find out what they can do to kind of stay in the midst of the conversation. But it's just really noticeable of this time right now, this action is what they decided to cut ties with.
The thing here, Mustafa, again, I go back to these whiny-ass Republicans. This is just, they bitched and moaned all weekend because they were losing Twitter followers. First of all, Twitter does it all the time where they actually do purges, where they get rid of fake accounts. And I'm going, really? Y'all the same people who want to shut down Black Lives Matter. Y'all the same people who came when people protested by freeways and everything else. Oh, not now, y'all a little upset. And what gets me, Mustafa, this whole, this is going further inflame. Really? Oh, so what more can you than kill a Capitol Hill police officer? What more can you do where you attack members of the media, steal their equipment? I was talking to one of our folks, Associated Press, they actually poured water into their equipment, destroying their cameras, video cameras, still cameras, live streaming equipment. These people are terrorists. They are terrorists, and they must be treated like terrorists. And I cannot imagine 8,000 to 10,000 Muslims descending on Capitol Hill, and folks just let them walk in and let them walk out, and it's no big deal.
It's amazing the complicity that has gone on over the last 4 years, because that's really what we're focusing on. We know it's been going on long before then. And you hit it on the head. Everybody knows my name is Mustafa. I worked at Capitol Hill for 2 years. And there are times I've walked into meetings or walked through, doors where the guards were, whether at the White House or on Capitol Hill, and have to go through additional screening. So we all know that if it's black and brown folks of a different faith, that there's a different set of challenges that we actually face. You know, it's interesting that Donald Trump and the domestic terrorists, these rioters, were able to accomplish what China wasn't able to accomplish, what Japan wasn't able to accomplish, what Russia or Germany was not able to accomplish. We had individuals who were able to make it and then take over for whatever amount of time, one of our bastions of democracy. And for folks not to be concerned with that really speaks to, privilege that comes with white supremacy. Feeling that I can do whatever I want to do. And I'm so glad that you called out the fact of what the root causes are of why these folks reacted the way they did. When they saw a black man being elected to the Senate from Georgia and a Jewish man being elected to the Senate of Georgia, then when they saw all these black folks across the country voting, they said, well, wait a minute now. This vote is not supposed to be for everyone. It's supposed to be for us. And if it's not benefiting us, if it's not falling in the direction that we feel that it is, then we have the right to try and take over the government. And those folks just actually call us out for what it is. Folks literally tried to take over the government because they tried to stop the folks' vote that said that Joe Biden should now be the president. So they said, well, wait a minute, we're going to do whatever we got to do to get into this building. It doesn't matter if we kill people. It doesn't matter if we damage property, to be able to make sure that we have the opportunity to stop this and to show you who really has power in this country. So now we get a chance to see if the laws will actually hold these individuals accountable, because they are domestic terrorists. And I've had folks who have said, well, Mustafa, you can't really call them domestic terrorists. Yes, I can. Because on 9/11, when international terrorists came to our country and destroyed the Pentagon and destroyed the towers, y'all had no problem in calling that out. And yes, you should have. So call this what it is. It is domestic terrorism. And there are individuals who have been complicit in allowing this to happen. You knew this was coming. When you had folks who ran up into the state house in Michigan and other state houses and said that the actions of elected officials, that they were not going to accept them and allow them to move forward, then you knew what was coming. So for folks to act like this is something that's brand new and, oh my goodness, how could it happen? You didn't speak out when folks were running into state houses, so it got good to them. They said, well, heck, if we can run into these state houses and do this, then we can go to Capitol Hill and we can do the exact same types of actions, because you didn't do anything to us when we came into the state houses, so you're not going to do anything when we go into a federal location.
Avis Media was complicit in this, not just the Fox News personality and others who were saying stop the steal. Media is complicit because these people remain silent. Black people kept saying, hey, we know this here. We know what's coming. We tried to tell you. We kept saying that. And in fact, if these mainstream media folk had put black people on in 2014 and 15 and 16, first of all, Trump wouldn't become president, because we would have called out the racism when it actually happened. But every time he said stuff, voter fraud and theft, Oh, that's just him on Twitter. That's just no big deal. They kept excusing it. So, and I kept saying, if there's no penalty, and then of course Susan Collins, I think Trump is going to learn from this. Clearly, he didn't. These people are they try, matter of fact, they tried to crush one cop indoor. He was yelling, "Help! Help!" And that's the party of law and order? Damn that, Avis.
Absolutely. I mean, no laws, no order, apparently, that they need to respect. Here's the ultimate challenge. Even if more Black people were on TV, and I do believe that there needs to be more Black voices in the media, I completely agree with that. The bottom line is that we have a culture that devalues Blackness and artificially inflates the value of whiteness. That is what has sort of come home to roost in this occurrence. Because as you've mentioned, this behavior is not new. You know, as we've said time and time and time again on this program, I did an entire TED Talk on this subject. Okay? White supremacist organizations have increased every year during the Trump presidency. White domestic terrorism and hate crimes have increased every year during the Trump presidency. We've seen peaks in hate crimes just following around those campaign rallies that he had all the way around the country. So we've seen from the beginning that he has incited hate. Let's not forget about what happened in El Paso. Let's not forget about that crazy lunatic Trump supporter who sent all these bombs or attempted bombs to all these media organizations and so on and so forth. It is not new news that he incites violence. What is new news is that his minions have now been turned against those in power, including those who were frequently his sycophants. You know, when you think about Mike Pence, it's like he is the #1 sycophant in chief. If you are the type of person who you're going to drink water because your boy is drinking water, that's some crazy next level sycophantism, okay? That was Mike Pence. Yet, you know, this is a crowd, because Mike Pence actually contorts with the rules and the limitations of the Constitution. The crowd is yelling, "Hang Mike Pence." Trump hasn't spoken to him since. And he's still too much of a sycophant that he won't even invoke the 25th Amendment. I don't even know what to call that. You know, cultism is a hell of a drug, because that's exactly what has happened, infused with this undeserved white privilege, which they are willing to fight, kill, and die for, apparently.
As I said earlier, the FBI said starting this week and continuing through Inauguration Day, armed protests are being planned at the Capitol in all 50 state capitals. The FBI also has warned a group is called the storming of state and federal government courthouses, administrative buildings, if Trump is in office before the inauguration. This news comes after Trump orders stormed the U.S. on Wednesday. 5 folks were dead. Not only that, the folks have announced that they're shutting down the Washington Monument until January 24th. We're waiting word whether that's going to happen to other monuments in D.C., such as the King Memorial and the Lincoln Memorial as well. Joining me, Malcolm Nance, terrorism expert and author of the book, The Plot to Betray America, How the Team Trump Embraced Our Enemies, Compromised Our Security, and How We Can Fix It. The title of that book is critically important, Malcolm. Go ahead and pull the book back up, please. It's critically important. The Plot to Betray America. How Team Trump Embraced Our Enemies, Compromised Our Security, and How We Can Fix It. Let's with the first part. How Team Trump Embraced Our Enemies. The Republican Party and Donald Trump full throttle embraced white supremacists, embraced these militias. They catered to them. They supported them. They sat there and allowed them to flourish. When you see all these photos of these various people, when you look at these groups, Charlie Kirk has taken down this particular this tweet where he talked about how Turning Point USA funded 80 buses bringing people to the U.S. Capitol. But also, I'm going to play again for our folks, and Malcolm, you may not have seen this. I'm going to play it again. This is what I said on February 21st, 2016, on ABC This Week. Listen to the Republican at the end.
They invited evil in, and now evil is taking over.
Okay, 2009, the night of Obama's inauguration, we will stop him at every turn. They love the Tea Party anger. They took advantage of it in 10 and 12, 15. They always said, we can control it. We can harness it. Now, all of a sudden, Trump is taking advantage of it. He led the whole birther deal. The Republican establishment at some point has to say, you know what? We played with fire, and now it's about to consume us. They have to accept some blame.
Well, the Republican establishment never played with.
Sarah jumped in and said the Republican establishment never played with fire.
Never played with fire. Oh, yeah. They're playing with napalm now. And in fact, one of their followers was kind enough to bring napalm with him to the Capitol. You know, Roland, as unfortunate a title as my last book is, you really don't want to know what my next book's called, because I started writing it 4 months ago, and the subtitle was The Fanatics, Terrorists, Militias, and Deranged Ideology of the Coming Trump Insurgency. I have to change it now. The insurgency is here. It has moved away from being what we saw was a gathering storm. And Donald Trump pushed these people first into insurrection and sedition, because we hear all the seditious talk from his supporters. It was considered the rhetoric of Trump, the flower of the way that he speaks, to talk in terms of putting the government out, and only Donald Trump is representative of the government. So, as you said in my current title book, how they betrayed, embraced America's enemies. Well, you are finding out now firsthand that white supremacy is the dominant motivator for Donald Trump's supporters. There's no greater white privilege than being able to go into the nation's capital, trash it, beat policemen to death, actually smear feces on the wall, steal, loot, and pillage, and then get escorted out politely with no one being arrested. So that's where we are. But now we are entering a new phase of confrontation in American history, a very old foe, and what is now building up into an Iraq-like insurgency. And many of these people are going to embrace real terrorism, and they think that they're all bit players in a new version of that insurgent group, the Wolverines. In the American occupation fantasy where all liberals are communists.
This is the thing that people need to understand. When the President of the United States takes the oath of office, when members of Congress take the oath of office, this is what they have to repeat. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. And it's that last from all enemies, foreign or domestic. That was put there because we've always had domestic terrorists, people who are white in America who've wanted to overthrow governments.
It's very true. We've always had domestic enemies in this country, and it came to a fruition in 1860. But what we're seeing is really, if you were to categorize it, this would be 1862.0 or 1.75. We never dealt with the demons of the Civil War. In fact, the reconciliation afterwards was rather good. The Reconstruction really benefited them. And what we have is people who are more than willing to bring not just the Confederate flag into the U.S. Capitol. I just want to point something out to you. Next time you watch video of that rally, there are 10-1 Trump flag versus American flags.
Right.
And that.
At one point, they took the American flag down and raised the Trump flag.
Raised the Trump flag. That's correct. So you're looking at the core of their ideology. This is the most rabid cult of personality in American history. And I'd say that unreservedly, because the Civil War, they at least tried to use a constitutional basis for their rebellion, and people actually split along the ideological lines of, states' rights. States' right to keep black people as property and make them free money. So now what you have is a completely different animal. You have people that are willing to destroy the United States government, kidnap, capture, and kill its elected representatives, to call for the death of the number two person in the executive branch, to attempt to eliminate the entire representative branch of government, including their allies, because had that happened, had Mike Pence been injured or incapacitated or taken out of communication, Nancy Pelosi, who is third in line, been injured, incapacitated, or taken out of communication, the Senate, Chuck Grassley, right, Senator Pro Tem, the number 4 person in that line, Donald Trump that very afternoon would have been able to act as a monarch because there would be no people within the line of succession that were not incapacitated at that time. I wonder whether any of this actually crossed the minds of the protesters. And I'm going to give you a little psychology of a mob. A mob is not a human entity when they're set loose, right? What you have is you have minds that are almost bestial, almost visceral. I've been in a mob in India, and I've been in a mob in Iraq with people who really wanted to kill me. But people will lose all of their morals, their values. When they got to that building, the thought of destroying the Congress in order to save Donald Trump, which was synonymous with save America, they had no problem with that. And right now, based on the communications I'm monitoring, they are regrouping. There's not a joke about them wanting to start on the 17th and start attacking things. They feel now that they've been made incommunicado, with Parler being taken down and other things like that. And they're seeking vengeance now on the very fact that Donald Trump, their tribal leader, is not able to just act as a dictator. And the problem is they're going to run into the full force of America at that point. They already hate it that they're being called terrorists and put on no-fly list at the airport. That's their level of inconvenience right now.
Malcolm, the Congressman Jim Clyburn gave an interview to Joe Madison last week on SiriusXM, where he seriously implied that this was an inside job. It looks like we lost Malcolm's video. Let me know when it's back. That was an inside job. That they found his private office. They passed his public office, but found his private office. Yesterday on 60 Minutes, Speaker Nancy Pelosi was on, and she talked to Leslie Stahl about how her staffers hid under a conference table and barricaded the doors and recorded the audio of these people banging on the door. They were trying to get in. I had Congresswoman Maxine Waters on the show last week, and she said had she not left the Capitol early, she said there is no doubt in her mind that if they had come across her or some other Democrats, they would have tried to kill them. Your thoughts on this notion of an inside job? We now know that the Capitol Police are investigating 12 officers. As I said, 2 have been put on suspension. 1 has been arrested. Your thoughts on this notion of an inside job here?
About a week ago, or just the day after, I had some issues with that until I came across intelligence that, yes, there was actually some inside work on the Capitol, and here's why. Not just with the sympathies of Capitol Hill Police. There are some boogaloo elements who liken themselves to, a military special operations organization. Some of them are military special operations that on the 5th of January went into the Capitol and the House office buildings and did reconnaissance of Nancy Pelosi's office. And we know one other, Adam Schiff. Today, they came out, some of these people came out and said, oh, that was just a joke. We're not really organized people. These people are militiamen, and they were in the House and the Capitol on the 5th. 2 of their followers are well-known right-wing journalists. I have no doubt at this point that they did know where they were going and that they went in there to facilitate all of the Proud Boys and Boogaloo Boys that were at that thing. Let me tell you, that rally was chock full of every Proud Boy and Boogaloo Boy you could see. All these guys who came with their body armor and their helmet and backpack. Everyone that we saw at Charlottesville was there. Every right-wing personality that was there. All the Twitter and internet influencers who were Proud Boys and Boogaloo Boys, and oh my God, the Oath Keeper, 3%ers, all were there in battle gear. Look at the videos. They're almost 2-to-1 in some instances. They came to fight and go to war. They knew they couldn't bring long rifles, but they understood they had people power, and their mass would knock down the defenses, along with the sympathizers who were clearly in Capitol Hill Police in some instances. A lot of officers, I noticed towards the end, when they had penetrated the building, were stepping aside as if they had received radio communications to let them come in. I've been in that building. I've never seen anyone open the door and step off to the side. Black officers, Hispanic officers.
Nobody.
Someone communicated to them not to do anything.
Someone
one did. There's just no way.
But
we're going to find this out.
Yep. I do want to play this video here of a true hero. While Donald Trump is trying to sit here and screw up America by giving the Medal of Freedom to Bill Belichick later this week, Eugene Goodman should get it. And I want people to watch this video. It's a 38-second video. Eugene Goodman, this brother, Capitol Hill police officer. But I want y'all to see what he did. Eugene Goodman literally saved the lives of United States senators. Folks, watch the video, and I'm going to replay it, and I'm going to definitely get Malcolm's thoughts on this. Folks, watch this here.
Second floor.
Here's what I want y'all to see. This is only another 21 seconds. Y'all, Eugene Goodman is going to lean back and look to his left. I want y'all to understand that was the entrance to the U.S. Senate floor. You're going to see him pull out his stick. You know, he's going to extend it. He's then going to turn his body this way. Then he's going to push the guy. Then you heard him on the radio. He was calling for backup. He pushes the guy, and then he starts walking the other way. You're going to see the lead white guy look to the right, not knowing what's down the hallway, and is going to keep following Eugene. Eugene Goodman saved U.S. senators from either being kidnapped, harmed, or murdered by these white domestic terrorists. And so I just want y'all to see it again. That brother is a real hero. Watch this.
Second floor.
Malcolm, I've got some idiots on YouTube, and it really pisses me off when people don't understand what in the hell is going on. I got Elijah James, a black man with a gun running from people. How heroic. And then somebody else says, Juanda Weathers, he should have shot his ass. No, if y'all pay any attention, there were literally more people than bullets he had. And what his whole job was to ensure that he doesn't get hurt. They don't attack the senators, so he leads them away from the Senate and walks them right into the hands of 3 other cops. Now, and you see at the end there how Eugene does. Watch right here, y'all. Watch the other cops when Eugene's like, I got help, backing up, I'm good. What y'all want to do now? That's smart policing, Malcolm. Go right ahead.
Yeah, when I first saw that video, I was confused by it, right? I said, there's something going on here because it doesn't look procedurally correct. And if you watch the video carefully, you see he actually puts his body in the doorway of the Senate. And that's when he actually takes out his aspeton, pushes back, and then leads them up that other set of steps, calls that he's going to the second floor, and meets them with another, 10 officers or so. So I think for a moment there, his last thought was, hey, I got to get these guys completely away from them by creating that confrontation. He did that with his life. Look, there were as many as 8,000 people attacking that building. That's the estimates I'm seeing right now.
Right.
And there were probably as many as 2,000 inside, spreading throughout the building. That he could actually
2,000 inside, only 500 Capitol Police officers who were on duty.
Yeah, but that's amongst the entire campus
right.
Capitol Hill. All office buildings. There may have been 100, 150 inside the building in its entirety. And this is there's going to be a lot of discussion about this. I'm going to be on Capitol Hill Wednesday talking to members about this and their security. This is an anathema, everything that we're seeing here. And it's all down to one man who knew that this was going on. He was watching from his room, eating McDonald's, reveling in the fact that he thought he was about to be installed as Duce, right, as the leader of the new American fascist state.
Yep.
Thank God, calmer heads and cooler minds prevailed, because I got to tell you, other than that one person who was shot leading into the Speaker's Hall, that was a private security detail. That's a bodyguard who had orders to secure that hallway, life and death, because it led to everyone inside the House of Representatives. It actually broke the assault in the building, but we couldn't have their version of Concord, right? Because that's exactly what they were calling it. They all heard, this is the shot heard around the world. They wanted a Boston massacre, and then they would have set fire to the building.
And here's the deal, Malcolm. We played the video earlier. The reality is they had barricades there. They had 4 or 5 officers standing in front. These people are hell-bent on getting in. And then when she tried to climb through that window, they were warning them. And it's on the audio. They've got guns. They were trying to tell you. And that was a strike team that was on the way. Bottom line is here. The strike team didn't get there fast enough. So when that woman, Babbitt, whatever her name is, that military veteran, when she tried to come through that window, my man fired a shot, hit her right in the neck, boom, put her down, and they all backed the hell up. And literally 10 seconds later, when the strike team came up the steps, he had no choice, because if she got in, he knew another 100 were coming through that window.
Let me explain something here really quickly before we end. Then I want you to picture this. The Vice President of the United States, the Vice President-elect of the United States, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, the Majority Whip at that time, Jim Clyburn, and a couple of others, their personal security details, the Secret Service and the U.S. Capitol Hill Police security details who are seconded to Secret Service, they were all weapons out in a 360-degree defensive circle, moving their protectees. I don't think that's happened since Ronald Reagan was shot.
Right.
That is what we call a national security emergency. A national security emergency. Why, on their radio call, did all the Marines at the 8th and I Barracks not assemble with their armor and weapons and run to the Capitol? Why wasn't an all federal officers alert put out by the Secret Service Emergency Operations Center that the Vice President was in extremis, weapons out? That's how bad it is. And the entire system collapsed for one reason. Donald Trump's people were doing this.
There you go.
Any other circumstance, they would have been mowed down.
There you go.
Gatling gun from the counter-assault vehicle.
There you go. Absolutely. You would have had folks mobilized from the FBI headquarters, and they would have been on Capitol Hill in 5 minutes. If a car wasn't available, they would have ran down Pennsylvania Avenue in full gear with weapons.
All guns in the city. If there had been a terrorist attack on Mike Pence, every firearm in the city, every law enforcement in the city would have responded.
Or if that was a group that wasn't all white.
Pretty good argument.
Malcolm Nance, always a pleasure having you. Folks, again, you want to get his book. We're going to wait for his new one to come out. It's called the latest one, Plot to Betray America, How Team Trump Embraced Our Enemies, Compromised Our Security, and can them out. The only way we can fix it is to remove all of these thugs from office. They got to go.
Thank you.
Malcolm, I appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Bringing my panel here. Y'all heard what Malcolm had to say there. Absolutely on point, Avis. Absolutely on point. And we have to treat for what it is. This massive national security threat to the future of America was the House and the Senate in session voting on the electors. People wanted to stop that. They wanted to. They wanted to completely disrupt and harm the line of succession, because what Malcolm just said is this here. You got Pence is the number 2. Anything happens to Trump. After the vice president, it's the Speaker of the House. After the Speaker of the House, it's the President of the Senate. These people literally could have taken out number 2 through 4 in the line of succession for the President of the United States. Unmute. You unmute, Ace.
Sorry about that.
There you go.
You are exactly right. And so to call this anything but what it was, a coup attempt, is completely downplaying what happened here. This was a very serious coup attempt. But I just want to continue a line of reasoning that you guys started to go under, and that was this idea that this did not all happen by her circumstance. I would bet you every dime in my bank account and everything I'll have in the next 50 years, okay? There was some inside help specifically because of who was at the top. I want to see some 9/11 style investigations that happens after this, where all the truth can come out and all the proper heads can roll. And then there are some things that we know that happened in real time. I can't remember this congresswoman's name, but I think it was the one that tweeted in 1776. There was a congresswoman, Republican congresswoman, who literally was tweeting out the location.
Yeah, that was Boebert, whatever his name. I'm going to pull it up. She's congresswoman from Colorado, new congresswoman. She's the one who put the video out saying, I'm going to carry my gun wherever I go on Capitol.
Yeah, that wacko. Okay. She's literally tweeting out the location of the Speaker of the House during a national security crisis. I mean, she's basically having a beacon over the Speaker's head say, go here and kill her. You know, these people, not only Trump, but these co-conspirators in Congress each need to be expelled and brought up on charges. This thing is way bigger and way deeper than we think. It includes legislators. It includes, I believe, people who have infiltrated the Capitol Police and other law enforcement agencies. Because why, for example, did the Department of Defense keep saying no in terms of the request from the governor of Maryland and from Mayor Bowser in terms of releasing the National Guards? There is a lot of collusion that went into creating the national security crisis that we faced last week, specifically as it relates to the coup attempt to try to install this fascist as president for a second term.
This is the tweets here, Lauren Boebert. This is one of the tweets you see right there where she said today is 1776. And later she tweeted, we were locked in the house. Then she tweeted, third please. She then tweeted, the speaker has been moved from the chambers. Mustafa, she's literally telling the world where the Speaker of the House is when the House is under assault.
I mean, we all know what has gone on, and the question is, are you going to hold these people accountable? You know, when anybody else breaks the law on a basic level, not talking about overthrowing a government, you know, folks come hard and heavy on many individuals, especially if they're black or brown. So the question really is, are you going to hold people accountable? Are you going to arrest people? Are you going to convict people? And it doesn't matter if you work on Capitol Hill as an elected official or if you were one of the folks who was, you know, doing these terrorist activities. You have to send a very clear message that any of this type of behavior is unacceptable and will be fully prosecuted. And until you're willing to do that, you're just continuing to allow these types of things to find fertile ground because folks is like, well, they're not that serious. I got a slap on the hand. A slap on the hand is not going to change most people's behavior. So we are now at this moment where we have to make some decisions if the country is serious about the 21st century nation. And that means that you cannot accept anyone who's going to try and overthrow your government, anyone who's going to put elected officials in danger. So we'll see what happens.
Teresa.
Yeah, these people aren't going away overnight. So I am looking forward to seeing what the Biden administration actually does in order to provide justice for those who obviously didn't get it, right? So the protesters didn't get it. I know we didn't get it as much as, we were also protesting for our civil rights and our liberties. But people died in this insurgent and the takeover of the Capitol. So, I mean, it does come down to accountability. But I also think it comes down to true law, really law and order when it comes to like what the rules should be for everyone, not just for a specific group.
Look, bottom line is this here. Every single person who incited this should simply be removed from office. Every single one. I don't care if they're a U.S. senator. I don't care if they are if they are a member of the House. Gotta go. And this is where you got to have people of courage speak out. And very few white evangelicals have said something about this. Very few of them. But one of them is with the Southern Baptist Convention. And he did this here. And it's ticked off a whole lot of these right-wingers. They're not too particularly happy with Russell Moore with the Southern Baptist Convention. This is what he posted, and I got to read this here. He said, "You will hear people saying that for the sake of unity, we should quiet things away. God forbid. The unity cannot come with a lack. The police do not have to ignore these mobs. The Congress does not have the option to ignore their constitutional obligations on high crimes and misdemeanors. The President and the cabinet cannot put aside questions of their responsibilities for fears. To hope all would quietly go away and resolve is to incite terrorists and is to do what the Bible forbids, to justify the wicked and to condemn the righteous." Proverbs 17:15. Unity demands accountability. Demands accountability. Without such, all we are left with is lawlessness to more lawlessness. Romans 6:9. You have to agree with me. I might be wrong. I don't speak for anyone else, only myself. But you deserve to hear me what I honestly think. If I were the president, I would resign. If I were the vice president, I would assemble the accordance 25th Amendment. If I were a vote to impeach a United States senator, to convict. And I would be willing, to lose my seat. As a matter of fact, I am willing, if necessary, to lose this seat. Again, I may be wrong, but if so, propose what can be done to make sure that justice, that this never happens to our country again. Is that easy? No. Will people who are a closet liberal? Yes. Psychological warfare conduct endless investigations against you? Maybe. Will people send threats to kill you and your family, your reputation and ministry? Perhaps. You survive all. Trust me. Mustafa, he is the head of the Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission for the Southern Baptist Convention. A white conservative evangelical who has spoken a level of truth that you have not heard from Paul, that you have not heard from Franklin Graham, that you have not heard from Tony Perkins, that you have not heard from Robert Jeffers, that you have not heard from Ralph Reed, that you have not heard from any of these white conservative evangelicals who are the biggest supporters of Donald Trump.
Dr. King said, "He who passively accepts evil is as much involved in it as he who helps to perpetuate it." It's really that simple. We've had a whole lot of people who have passively accepted the evils that Donald Trump has done. And many of them, unfortunately, have come from those who say they come from a religious background. They've been co-signing on all these types of actions, locking kids up in cages, all these things that we've seen around peaceful protesters, outside of the White House and them being attacked so that you could take and have a photo op. and all the voter suppression and a number of other things that have gone on. And this is just the culmination of this. In this moment is the culmination of all of these evils that Donald Trump has done, and those who have supported him, either in their silence or in their complicity. So folks have got to get serious about making change happen, and they got to get serious about what justice actually looks like and what it means in our country, or we will continue to fall apart. And we're at that moment now. Folks don't want to have real conversations about this. We are literally watching our democracy crumble. When you can have folks, thousands upon thousands upon thousands of folks who can rush into the U.S. Capitol and attack it, and then across the country have folks and elected officials and folks from religious institutions who are co-signing on these things. We've really got to have a clear self-evaluation of who we want to be and these folks that we put trust and value in.
Teresa, Jenny Thomas, the wife of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, is on the advisory board of Turning Point USA, the ones who brought in 80-plus buses. This is a tweet that Charlie Kirk, who leads Turning Point USA, he's actually deleted this tweet. I wonder why. The historic event will likely be one of the largest and influential in history. The team at students at Turning Point Action honored to help make this happen, sending 80-plus buses full of patriots to fight for the president. Well, if he actually thought that was the case, Teresa, he would not have deleted the tweet.
Of course. He's honored to bring a bunch of patriots who pretty much, tore up the Capitol and put our democracy at the wayside, but not proud. And you know what? If he had at least he has a conscience. So him taking the tweet down kind of shows that he does have a conscience and he's showing responsibility. But at the end of the day, I don't think people understood that this protest was going to go the way that it did, and it was a disgrace to watch in living color. And so I think, young conservatives, I think it's very interesting. There was a post by Ms. Owens that a whole full production video that Facebook is trying to down, and she did it in 5 minutes. But outside her, I don't think there's other young millennial conservatives that are willing to stand and wave the Trump flag. And I think that's due because I think they're all starting to wake up and know that conservatism, it definitely means something else. It means what it used to be versus what it means today, and what it means today to those patriots are those that are just losing themselves within the Republican Party, and they're trying to find themselves in some way, shape, or form. But obviously this is not conducive to what it looks like today. But I think I think it's an action. I think Kirk definitely an action that is like, well, I'm not really too proud, but I do think it is in the right direction.
Let me read for you this trash-ass statement from Melania Trump, Avis. She posted this today, First Lady Melania Trump, our path forward. So a whole bunch of blah, 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 but he was interesting. Most recently, my heart goes out to Air Force veteran Ashley, Benjamin Phillips, Kevin Borland, and Brian Sick and Howard Liebengood. Brian was the one who was beaten to death. Howard Liebengood after this. Here's what's quite interesting, Avis. Shames first. Mm-hmm. Not the Capitol Hill police officer who beat and killed. But here is the thing that I'm also just curious about. She writes, I am disappointed and disheartened this week. I find it shameful that surrounding these tragic events there have been salacious gossip, warranted personal and false misleading accusations on me from people that have an agenda. This time is solely our country, citizens, it's personal gain. Oh, is now the victim. Not the members, not the staffers who were scared to death, but poor Melania is now the victim. I cannot wait for these trash-ass grifters to be thrown out of the White House, all of them. He is trash ass, so is Melania, so is Donald Trump Jr., and Erica Trump, and Laura Leah Trump, and Yvonne Trump, all of them. They are despicable people, and I cannot wait till we have to fumigate the White House from the evil residue that they have allowed to and build up over the last 4 years.
Yeah, I mean, from evil residue as well as from the COVID. Let's not forget the super spreader place. But, nobody gives a damn about Melania. Say anything about Melania. I don't really care. Do you? I don't. Okay, so let's put this into some perspective. What's happening here is that you have all of these dead people. You're right. She led with terrorists, okay? But beyond that, she mentioned a couple of the Capitol Hill police officers. The one was beaten to death, the one committed suicide. Interesting, though, is that her husband, the president of the United States, still hasn't said anything about those police officers.
In fact, they had to browbeat the White House in lowering the flag.
Exactly. Nancy beat him to that by a couple of like 48 hours. And he finally agreed to that, but he still hasn't said anything. And the really sad part is, from what I understand, that Capitol police officer that was murdered was a Trump supporter. You know, he actually voted for President Trump. So one of his own people who also happened to be a police, which last I heard, y'all supposed to think Blue Lives Matter, okay? So I think it's so interesting that, you know, this person who actually supported you and was killed by other supporters of you is someone who you won't even get respect of even acknowledging his murder. It's kind of like how, you know, Herman Cain hasn't crossed his lips ever since Herman Cain went to glory after putting his whole life on the line to be at that COVID-filled Donald Trump rally.
Or Bishop Harry Jackson. He ain't mentioned him either.
Exactly. So here's the thing that people need to understand. This man is loyal to nobody. He is loyal to no one. This is why he sent an angry mob after his own vice president and hadn't said, Jack, cat, kiss my foot to him ever since. This man is a megalomaniac. He's a psychopath. He's a sociopath. He's a fascist. He's a white nationalist. He is someone who is not befitting of the office. But most important, that he is a clear and present danger to the United States for every second that he remains in office. And the Republican Party should go down in infamy for being so cowardice, profiled in cowardice, that after the House does what they need to do in terms of impeaching this fool, that they will kick the can down the road because they don't even have the balls to remove him.
Last week, we talked Congresswoman Lisa Rochester. When they were all holed up, this actually happened. This video of her, go ahead and take the audio as well. Where she was trying to pass out masks to Republicans. They did not want the mask. They didn't want them. You see Steve Scalise right there. Republican leader, didn't want them. Well, guess what, folks? Congresswoman Bonnie Watson Coleman of New Jersey, who has survived cancer, says she tested positive after sheltering in place with lawmakers in that very room at the U.S. Capitol. Representative Coleman, as I said, survivor who is serving her Congress. In a statement issued by her office, Coleman says she's experienced cold-like symptoms, but in good spirits. This, folks, I'm talking about. Here they are in an enclosed environment. These dumbass Republicans refuse to put a mask, and here a black member of Congress. More people have died from COVID than anybody else. Of the medical workers who have COVID, 27% are black. And these fools will put a mask on, and now she has COVID because these asses refuse to wear a damn mask, Mustafa.
You know, when the COVID first started, I wrote this piece on the laws that exist when someone knows that they have a disease, a sexually transmitted disease, HIV, or if you had Hep C or a couple of the others, and then you knowingly expose somebody to that. There are laws on the books across the country where you can get a fine, you get arrested, a number of different things. And because we weren't serious holding people accountable, this stuff continued to grow. And we continue to plus this scenario out where folks are willing to sacrifice you. You know, folks, if they will sacrifice themselves, there's still a conversation there because they are connected to the greater. But, when folks are willing to sacrifice you, then for me, that's a problem. And I have a real problem because we will not hold people accountable in this COVID-19 moment, even with all the information that we have on how contagious it is. We know how you get, we know how to protect yourself from it, but we still won't do the right things. So, until we're really serious about holding people accountable, then we're folks like Congresswoman Watson Coleman and others who have to end up paying the price for other people's lack of humanity.
Absolutely. All right, for the break, we come back. We're going to talk with conservative Bob Woodson about his new book, Lesson from the Least of These, The Woodson Principles. Also talk to my homegirl, Nick Fitch, of course, a fitness expert, but it's a little bit different. Talk about what it was like when she was all about the abs and being slim, but she said she wasn't healthy and didn't feel good. So she's talking about the importance of my body and spirit all being aligned in our Fit, Live, Win segment. Next, right here on Roland Martin Filtered. Back in a moment.
The King movement of 1955 is the first time in a very violent civilization, Western civilization, any sizable group of people started to work to change by insisting we can use nonviolence power to create the change. Gandhi said that nonviolent power, the power of life, is the greatest and most creative force, power of the universe. And that if we human beings turn away from conventional wisdom towards using the gift of life, which is ours at birth, we would be surprised what the future of the human race will look like.
Today is the day American patriots start taking down names and kicking ass. The whole world is watching, folks. If you just roll over, if you don't fight, we will not go quietly into the night.
Let's have trial by combat.
If you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore.
You are aware of certain kinds of protesters, but in Michigan, when protesters carry guns and Confederate flags and swastikas and call for the governor of Michigan to be beheaded and shot and lynched, somehow you're not aware of that. Somehow you didn't know about it, so you didn't send federal agents in to do to the president's supporters what you did to the president's protesters. So the point I'm trying to make here, Mr. Barr, that I think is very important for the country to understand is that there is a real discrepancy in how you react as the Attorney General, the top cop in this country, when white men with swastikas storm a government building with guns. There is no need for the president to, quote, activate you because they're getting the president's personal agenda done. But when black people and people of color protest police brutality, systemic racism, and the president's very own lack of response to those critical issues, then you forcibly remove them with armed federal officers, pepper bombs, because they are considered terrorists by the president. You take an aggressive approach to Black Lives Matter protests, but not to right-wing extremists threatening to lynch a governor if it's for the president's benefit. Did I get it right, Mr. Barr?
All right, folks, welcome back. New book, Lessons from the Least, the Woodson Principles. Activist Robert Woodson, Poverty in America and What We Can Do to Help. He joins right now. Bob, glad to have you on the show. Before I get to the book, I definitely want to get your thoughts on what the heck transpired last week. That was shocking, stunning, atrocious to see the attack on the Capitol. Now you have Republicans who are saying that now it's time to heal. But as I keep saying, Bob, you have a reckoning before healing. Because act like what happened last week just was a small thing. It was an attack on democracy in this country.
I totally agree with you. I think there is a consensus that is most threatening to our republic. But I also think we must be morally consistent. When rioters burn down a police precinct in Minneapolis and burn out black businesses, or just last week tried to take over a police station in Portland, Oregon. All of those kind of violence that is fueled by grievance continue to bombard people with their grievance. I think we need to be speaking out. But when you have a woman like Vicky Orwell can go on PBS and discuss her book in terms of looting as a form of protest, and you have Cuomo saying, says that protest has to be peaceful. I just think that it fuels this kind of anger that leads to violence. Violence is bad regardless of what the source of it is. Once you unleash it, it's going to be adopted by everybody. So I just think that needs to be, yes, we should condemn in the strongest terms, and everybody should go to jail long term for what they did.
Bob, here's the deal. There's a huge difference between you have what you described, first of all, in terms of what transpired. And we saw the police reaction to what transpired, but then compare what took place Capitol. The reality is this. We have seen a far different police reaction to folks protesting when somebody black shot by a cop. Folks were allowed to storm the Capitol, walk out, no them fly back home. And now we have a video now of some being arrested when they flew back home. Some of them are no-fly lists. But I dare to say, if it was black folks, if it was 8,000 black people outside of that Capitol, I can guarantee you there would have been a hell of a lot different police response than when them white folks were out there.
Well, Roland, let me say that if you look in the last 8 months that we've had violence in our cities, how many people have been killed by the police in the last 8 months around the country? I don't think that the police have abandoned the whole precinct. If the police are precinct to be taken and burned down, how can you say that somehow the reaction would have been? I think the police have been passive all over, but I think
actually they haven't been passive. You actually haven't been killed, since George Floyd was murdered on May 4th. 95 black people have been shot by police. That's first. Second of all, we've had Ben Crump on the show and we actually discussed. The
95 people. Okay, go ahead.
Right. 95. The 95 black people. That's not all people. Black people. The second thing is this: we have seen armed response. We saw where Trump sent federal agents, federal troops into Portland. We now know for a fact that they refused to allow the National Guard to go to the Capitol. You had the governor of Maryland. You had Guard leader Steny Hoyer, Nancy Pelosi, Jim Clyde on the phone begging him. He was ready to send them to the Capitol, but the Pentagon wouldn't let. So when you say police response, the reality is there absolutely was a different response than what we saw on Wednesday. The point I mean here is this here, and that is this. The people who were protesting on Saturday, they were because they lost. Because Donald Trump has lied to them about voter fraud. People have been protesting, shooting, the killing of black men by. That's what they were protesting. There's a difference between somebody protesting for a lie and somebody protesting or somebody being shot and killed by the cops. Would you agree?
I think protesting when black businesses are burned down in the name of protesting, that's not protest, that's violence. But why is it when it's being done in cities around the country run by liberal Democrats, do we refer to them as peaceful? And you have a $35 million bail fund set up to bail people out who get locked up for rioting. So I'm not trying to, the point is, sit here all day and, which white folks are worse to us. But when you talk about the numbers, after George Floyd died, there were 52 young black killed under the age of 14. 52 are murdered by other blacks during that period, but we don't talk about that.
Actually, we do. First of all, we say we.
No. We don't talk about that.
No, but here's the deal. Actually,
what I'm concerned.
We talk about it.
My issue is this, Roland. If white people were to go to Europe tomorrow and leave, how conditions change and improve? Hey, I'm interested in solutions.
Well, no, here's the deal. Actually, I'll answer that question.
I'm not interested in spending my time saying which white folks are worse to us.
No, but here's the issue.
That's not my issue.
The issue for me is not which white folks are worse. Here's the deal. When you talk about the shootings of African Americans, what often does not talked about, which of course you're dealing with in your book, is not also conditions that actually happen. Look, I sat at the table. For example, I sat at the table. One of the first two meetings with Trump had anchors. And he brought up Rahm Emanuel Chicago, and he was talking about education and health and other issues. And Trump was like, no, Rahm, that's not why this shooting happened. And I'm looking at him, yeah, actually, that's why. One of the fundamental problems that we have in the country is that when we talk about crime, we don't want to talk about what are the underlying economic conditions that exist in neighborhoods. John O'Brien with Operation Hope says this all the time. He says, you've never seen a riot in a neighborhood with a credit score of 700 higher. And so we want to talk poverty in this country. We want to talk about entrenched poverty that has been existing for a very long time. We can't, and also tied to crime, we have to deal with education, health, economics, lack of resources that all contribute to conditions in neighborhoods.
Let me challenge you, because what we did in 1776 at the Woodson Center, we believe that we have fact-based truths. If not, lies become more. What you say is true. The 1930 to 1950, when the unemployment rate in the black community was 40%, when we were in a recession, and racism was enshrined in law. We had the highest marriage rate. Elderly people walk safely in those communities without fear of being mugged. So if we didn't kill ourselves in the midst of segregation, when we had no representation, and we didn't kill ourselves, we married, we were safe. Explain to me.
Yeah, I'll explain to you.
Tell me.
I'll explain to you. Who lived there? No. Who lived there? No. Who lived there? Who lived there?
We did.
No. But who was a we?
Black folks.
Hey, but no. And guess it. But Bob. Because of Crow, no matter what your economic condition was, you had no choice but to live there. What has happened now is when you begin to study the poverty data, when you begin to study that, who actually lives in these places. As somebody who's been a City Hall reporter and a county government reporter who had reported on these issues, somebody who covered housing as well, what you see now in those areas where you have the highest crime, you have entrenched poverty. So you don't have middle-class black people Bob, 1 second, I'm gonna let you finish. You don't have middle-class and upper middle-class black people live in those areas. What you have are extreme poverty in those areas. You go to areas in Atlanta, in the suburbs of Atlanta, Lithonia, go to DeKalb County, where you have African Americans with higher income, don't the same level when it comes to crime. It's an economic issue as well, Bob. That's the difference.
You are wrong, sir.
Okay.
Let's look at some facts. I wish we'd put some facts on the table.
Go ahead.
The fact is that there's never been in the black community. I grew up during the Depression. I was born during the Depression. And class blacks did not live in our neighborhoods where we were trash men and traders and where
did they live? Where did they live?
Class divide. May I finish? We were there was class divide. Low-income blacks lived together with other low-income blacks. And we weren't shooting each other. I don't know anybody growing up who was murdered, even though our income was lower. So to say that somehow that poverty makes us killers of one another is just patently untrue. Because during Depression, during the 40s and 50s, poverty was never related to our income.
Bob, are you telling me right now that if we pulled out the stats in America and we show where killings take place, that we're not going to see the supermajority of killings in black communities? No. Are you telling me that we're not going to identify the supermajority of killings in places where there's entrenched poverty? Are you serious?
Let me tell you that I can show you examples.
No. I want to see data. I want to see data.
Okay, I will send you data, but let me tell you, in my book, I talk about Kenilworth Parkside, an area in northeast Washington. That was a public housing where there were 3,000 people, 650 units. Residents decided they were going to drive out the dealers. They were going to stop buying stolen goods, and they were going to discipline. 600 children to college in St. Louis that was profiled 60 Minutes. And so I can show examples of when the black community decided to take charge of life and discipline themselves. We didn't change the economic structure. We changed our attitude and our beliefs. That's what we go to. Otherwise, you're putting the change of conditions in the hands of people that we say hate us. No, when we're armed with self-determination and a willingness to sacrifice. We built hotels when we were denied access in Bronzeville of Chicago in 1929, when we were faced with redlining. We had 730 black-owned businesses. Blacks had $100 billion in real estate assets, with a pregnancy rate out of wedlock birth is 10%. So this was in 1929. We were able to accomplish these things. We weren't blowing our brains out then. So if we were able to accomplish it, we have this all documented. You want data?
Yeah, I'm actually looking at data right now. Bob, first of all, your 1776 project is all because of the 1619, and we ain't talking about that. I'm talking about this here. I'm looking at data right now. Bob, I'm looking at data right now from HUD, HUD.gov. Well, they say right here, in terms of where most violent crime actually take place. They lay right here, data, okay? Trump's White House now, lay out right here in terms of where shootings take place. And it's all based upon, again, laying out right here, the various hotspots where the gun violence is, talking about the various things that actually lead to that. So to act like economics is not a part of this is crazy.
To say economic is solely responsible is crazy.
First of all, I didn't say it was totally responsible. First of all, I didn't say it was totally.
You know what, Roland?
Bob, I didn't say totally. I didn't say totally. Who says totally?
I say, you did not. You don't ever mention personal responsibility. You always talk about external conditions.
Bob, I cannot deny the reality of external conditions when I'm looking at an area, they play a role in that.
Roland, let me invite you to do something, if you will. Why don't we bring together some of our people, our scholars who study these issues, and let's have an old-fashioned debate within the Black community about these issues. We have offered several times, and those folks don't want to debate. The Black community, we need a debate inside the way they used to do back in the 60s. We haven't had a debate in the Black community in 50 years. So I hope that you will, we call on you to convince some of your colleagues who believe as you believe, armed with the kind of information you have, so we can compare with the information that we have. So then let's lay it out and let people decide where truth is.
Well, first of all, here's the deal. I have no issue with that, but the point is this here, and this is what it boils down for me. What it boils down is here. You said, to make the point that I blame all the economic. It's two things. Personal responsibility ain't going to solve a problem 100%. Economics not going to solve it 100%. But what I'm not going to do is act like that doesn't exist. Because here's a piece.
But I don't hear that end of it. All I hear are
Bob, if you say you don't hear it, hold up, Bob, here's the problem. Your office is literally down the hall from mine. If you don't hear it, you don't watch this show. Bob, if you don't hear it, you don't watch this show. Because anybody watches this show, starts talking about Black-owned businesses. You at the bottom of this right now, on the lower third, support the Black Women's Roundtable. We flip that thing, support New Georgia Vote Project. We flip that thing, support the folks that Black Voters Matter. Every Tuesday, we feature Black-owned businesses on here. Every Wednesday, we feature Black folks who are in tech. So what you're talking about, we do. So maybe more of your folk need to watch this Black news show, because we do. What we don't do is only say all personal responsibility and not focus on economics, health, education, all of that.
Well, if you make this statement that crime in the Black community is related to, and you almost state as if it's exclusive. I didn't you say, and all I heard you say is where there is economic conditions like that, you'll have crime.
No, where I said, no. What I said is, hold on, Bob. What I said is, when areas, I can guarantee you look at entrenched poverty, you will have significant health issues, significant education issues in those areas. Those are the three things I said. Those are the three major factors when you examine.
They are factors. They are, but
I said three major factors.
Yeah. But I didn't hear you say anything about personal responsibility. All I heard.
Bob, you can get stuck on personal responsibility all day. But the bottom line is this here. If I got a shitty school, I got a shitty school. If I have no jobs in my neighborhood, I can have all the personal responsibility I need, but if I can't be employed, I got a problem.
That is a one. And
it's a big one.
It's a big one. But I think when all I hear is the emphasis are always on external factors, systemic racism, white folks did this, and I need reparations, you need all these other so-called solutions that are external. And I'm saying not enough attention is devoted to looking at how, if we were able to build banks, hells, at a time when we were a red line, when we couldn't borrow money, we started our own railroad in Baltimore. Our young people need to be told stories of some responses. They need to be told how we created wealth.
Bob, this is literally what we do. Bob, what you're describing is literally what we do every single day.
I'm responding to what you said on this show on this day.
Bob, every day.
That's what
every day.
You were talking.
So every day. So
I'm saying that's what I'm responding.
Bob, this is simple. When we talk about where we are with poverty in this country, what we're also dealing is with this nation, haves and have-nots. When you look at how the top 1% have greatly increased the wealth in the country over the past 30 years, and the bottom 70% of this country have not. What we are seeing in this country, you got people right now fighting against $15 an hour, a fair wage. You've got people who are sitting here fighting when talking about home ownership. One of the biggest problems that I also see is when we saw come of the home foreclosure crisis, where you had private equity firms that were going out buying lots of 25,000 homes, and you had who were trying to become homeowners now being forced to be renters, paying enormous amounts of money. They want to be able to build something, being homeowners. We do have some structural economic issues in this country that if you are not, frankly, a highly educated African-American or Latino or white, guess what? You're going to be in that bottom, and it is even more difficult for folks to get out of them today than it's ever been, because we have forces who want to be all about the stock market and all about increasing their personal wealth and not being able to pay folks fair wage and being able to provide health care as well. It's a fundamental problem in this country, and we got to deal with it, whether you talk about Republicans or Democrats.
Well, one of the ways we can deal with it is to explain and show how what we did when we were in segregation. We care with young people. Major City had a hotel up until 1960. If we did that, then why can't we do it today? If we had black walls, the Hayti, when we would access the hotels, we built our own hotel. When 1,000 blacks in 1860 was fired from the dock of Baltimore, Maryland, we didn't march on Washington. We went to our own burial societies in the church and financed a railroad that successfully operated for 18 years from Baltimore to Maine. We set up our own railroad, our own banks, the St. Teresa Hotel in New York, the St. Charles in Chicago, the Walla Hodge in Atlanta, the Carver and the Cow Hotel in Miami. I can go on and on and on. If we were able to establish banks, hotels, 5 black people in Tulsa in the section have their own private planes in 1922. So we were able to accomplish and accumulate wealth and prosper then. The question is, why can't we do it now? And the other question that we need to discuss is one of the goals of the civil rights movement to put blacks in political position in running of our cities so that our people prosper. And the question is, after 50 years of our people running our major institutions, why are our people failing institutions run by their own people?
Because they actually haven't been running them. Because what also took place. No, because they actually been running them. You know somebody run. Hold up, Bob. Now, Bob, as somebody who covered city council, as somebody who covered county government, I sat there in Dallas, Texas, and it was a CFO, Matthew Harden, who got called by a white executive in Dallas to a meeting. And when he went to the meeting, he had the entire Dallas Independent School District budget on his wall. And Matthew walks in and he was sitting there going, like, what the hell is this guy sitting looking at my budget? And this guy begins to tell Matthew where they were going to be spending school district resources. And Matthew's going, wait a minute, I'm the CF for the school district. When he hit Matthew to begin to say, who runs the school district? Who are the forces in cities who do so? And so here's the whole thing. Look, I can talk to a whole bunch of black mayors, and they'll tell you so where power bases are in cities. And the reality is, you know big money, how big money operates, Bob. Let's not act like big money don't control politics in city, counties, and in this country. Surely you...
Roland,
really, you gonna deny that?
The biggest... Yes, Roland, are you telling me then that for 50 years... we promised to people that if you elect black to these offices, we will run our school system, the courts, we run the school systems and all of it. And you're telling me that white people are so powerful that even though we are in charge of those institutions, that they are able to pull strings that enables us to
Bob, who controls the money in the city?
Are you telling me? I'm asking.
Bob, who controls the money? Bob, who controls the money? Bob, who controls the money?
Black people used to control it when we were running our own
Bob, who
institutions.
controls the money in
Who controls the money?
Who controls the money? Hold on, major corporations?
When the money,
Chamber of Commerce?
the black folks running schools control those budgets. If you're telling me that white people are so powerful, I
literally just gave you an example of I literally just gave you an example of a black CFO of a school district, Dallas City School District, who then began to realize the role that the white business community had in running the school.
So that, in other words,
I literally gave you the example.
When billions of dollars comes to a school and the superintendent is black, that superintendent has no control over money.
It depends upon the system. First of all, wait. Hold on. The superintendent, the school board actually has that level of power. In Chicago, I'm not done. In Chicago and some other cities, the mayor controls the school board. So first of all, the superintendent does not have complete authority over a school budget. Actually, the school board is the one that makes the allocation. I'll be happy to call you. I'll be happy to call some black superintendents to help you out.
Well, these black elected officials need to be truth in advertising and say to black constituents, even though you elect me to office, I'm not going to have control over the social systems, the healthcare system, the prisons, even though I have this money that the government has allocated it no control, then that's
no. First of all, Bob, I didn't say no control. No. What I'm saying, Bob, is what I understand somebody, again, who has covered the innards of these governments. I understand the role that big money plays in controlling American politics. That's what I understand.
One final question I want to ask you. You want facts. That we had 5 major high schools at the turn of the century, one bar in Baltimore, and other major cities. Those public schools had 3 to a classroom. They had half the budget of white schools and used textbooks. And every one of those 5 schools tested every white school in those cities. Now, to me, how do we do that? If
tell me you were there.
How do we do that?
You tell me you were there.
We had self-determination. We believed in ourselves. We worked hard. We didn't look white people to do anything. And so if we were able to achieve those kind of successes that time under those conditions, how can you say today that conditions worse than they were at the turn of the century?
This is real, Bob. This is very simple. What I understand today, I understand forces in communities. I understand how resources are being allocated. And let me be also real, Bob, be real clear that you need to understand, because I don't think you clearly right now have any clue what this is about. First,
can I add?
Bob, not listening. Let me say it again. What you're not hearing is this is a black-owned show, created because we need to have our own platforms for our narratives. This is a show that features black businesses. This is a show that has a weekly education segment. I created a school choice organization. This is a show that talks about self-determination. But what I'm also understanding is that self-determination cannot solely happen. We also have to change systems, and we must confront race. I'm a black-owned media company. $150 billion is spent annually on advertising in America. How much does black-owned media get? The GSA, the General Accounting Office, did a report for Congresswoman Ellis Norton 2 years ago that showed the federal government spent $5 billion on media advertising in a 5-year period. Black-owned media got $10.1 million out of $5 billion, 51 million out of $5 billion. So we got $10 million a year out of $1 billion. Now, I'm a black-owned media company. Own this, 12 employees, all the equipment. But I do understand, for all of my self-determination, I can show you the letters of my followers who send in checks, who will Cash App and PayPal and all those things, if I'm still being frozen out of the advertising dollars, Bob, if I'm still not getting the fair share of dollars, I can't grow. I can't build capacity. I can't get bigger. So what I'm saying, Bob, is I can fight two things at one time. I can preach and live self-determination, but I can also battle systemic racism that is denying me the opportunity to be able to access the dollars. Final comment before I got to go to my fitness guest.
In 1970, in 73, $2 billion was put up so that we can increase black ownership of broadcast property. And that's because, okay, but what happened at the end of that period of time, a lot of those people who were financed, subsidized, used the money, bought properties, and in 3 years flipped it to white companies that was supposed to help the total black men. So there have been, even at a to increase, only a handful used the program that wasn't intended.
First of all, the program the program you're talking about actually was a incentive program, but that tax incentive program, Bob, you remember, was discontinued by which party?
But Republicans, it was discontinued because it was corrupt. It was corruptly used by the people there.
Okay.
At the end of 20 years, there were fewer broadcast properties owned by blacks because people like Harvey Gantt, the former mayor of Charlotte, used the program and then sold it to Viacom after holding it for 2 years. That's the kind of exploitation that occurred.
Well, first of all, that means that in the program, should have put a minimum number of years property could be held as opposed to...
But they didn't do it.
Well, right, so that's on the people who created the program.
No, wait, but then the people shouldn't have been cheating the program.
First of all, Bob is not cheating program you to actually start a company, sell it. That's not cheating.
No, but if the intention of the program was to meet each of the black community.
Well, they should have put it. Well, guess what, Bob?
More black presence in broadcast.
And they should have put it in the law.
And also to do what you did, what Kathy Hughes did.
Well, they should have put it in the law. They should have put it in the law, a 10-year minimum.
That's right.
They should have put it in the law, but didn't. Y'all, the book is...
But they shouldn't have to if you got committed people like you.
Bob, but hold up, Bob.
Put it in the law.
Bob, but you can't talk capitalism in the capitalistic society if it don't mean selling something that you actually start. Y'all, Bob's book is called Lessons from These, The Woodson Principles by Bob Woodson Sr. Bob, look forward to the next conversation. Thanks a lot.
All right. Thank you, Roland.
Thank you very much. Got to go to a break, real quick break. We're going to talk about getting fit. Is it all about having these great abs? Being muscled? My next guest said, that mind, body, and spirit got to all be together for you to live healthy. Nick is next on Roland Martin Unfiltered.
I'm in the world of fiction. That's what I do. I'm an actress. I spent 35 years in this business. I've been in the business since I was 14. I was discovered in a basement theater in Philadelphia, a basement called Freedom Theater. And that's what I do. I play for a living. And I look and see that we're in a world that, it's bizarre where you can't tell the fake from the real. These people are not faking it. That's what they're going to, they're willing to put their whole lives, their families' lives, everything they've accomplished around looking pathetic and weak around a table because this man showed up and told them that, that he was the one and everybody should follow him. He didn't even have a good argument. He's not Martin Luther King. He has no words, he has nothing. He's just rich and white and male. And so people want to see that power on display and then tell us that we're not, that we're crazy. They can't do it anymore. That's the good news.
We fight like hell. And if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore. We're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue.
They broke the glass in the United States Capitol, and now they are climbing through the window.
Let's have trial by combat.
Take back our country.
The whole world is watching, folks. Choose wisely. If you just roll over, if you don't
We love you. You're very special.
All right, folks, if you look on Instagram, boy, you got everybody who's looking all fit and buff and gorgeous, and it's all about big booties and abs, and folks are just, I mean, it's all that good stuff. But is that really healthy? Is that really healthy? Fitness expert out of LA, Nick B, posted this photo. And she actually posted this a couple of years ago, and I said, look, I got to get her on the show. And so this is a photo right here. You see TBD, young, skinny as hell, and ripped. You see the abs and all that good stuff. And this is what she wrote. She said, first, she said, this taken over 7 years ago. When I got on this during that time, I was all about showcasing abs and body positivity, a confident woman, and do what works for you. That is always, now that I'm older, and of course, my body has so much from what I look like in the pic. I honestly say that I am more happy and healthier physically, mentally, and emotionally than I was in my earliest. I'll take the 35-year-old glow up any day. Now, this was the photo she posted, and this was the photo that she posted right behind it. Nick B joins us right now. Nick, what's happening?
What's up, Roland? How are you?
It's always good to see you. And I remember when you posted this a couple of years ago, and I hit you in the DM, and I was like, yo, that was a seriously a strong post you made. And a lot of people were shocked by it because you were in, I was 127 then. I think you said I'm 145 or 147. And people were like, oh, my God, what are you doing? But you kept saying, no, I'm actually healthier now than I was then. Because we've created this whole notion that to be healthy, it's about being ripped in the six-pack and all that stuff. Explain that for folk.
Well, I honestly believe that healthy is in the mindset now. My whole mindset changed throughout the years. I'm obviously in my mid-30s now. Back then, I was in my 20s, so it was all about body image and what can sell. And now I'm like, I love and I embrace myself more. I just love me. So I just focus more so on just the feel good, just feeling good. That's basically what it is now. Just feeling good and embracing where I am. And not having to be ripped. I think that was a lot of ego then too.
And I remember a lot of times you posting the photos and all the shirt was always up and, you know, always showing the abs and everything. And there are a lot of other people who do that. They post those images all the time. And then what happens is 98% of the people, I will never, ever look like that. But then, and you've then posted since then saying, look, I'm still voluptuous. I'm still fine. I'm still fit. You still eating healthy. But it was not all about I gotta have that look. And what was it? Was it someone saying something like what? When did the switch flip where you said this ain't it?
Well, it was me tapping more into my just inner self. It was about self-love. It was like, okay, that was cool back then, but now I'm a woman and I have these beautiful curves and I have these beautiful breasts, you know, forgive me, but it's my body and I'm loving and embracing every bit of me. Wow, all of those old school pictures. Yes. Yeah, it's just not me anymore. I'm on a different phase of my life, but I'm still trying to show women and men that you can still love yourself, still be beautiful and fit and active, but you don't have to be ripped. Like, my body goes through these phases. I was once 115 pounds. Now today I'm 151. Yeah, I got on the scale this morning. And I love myself more at 151 than I did at 115. I can honestly say that.
And look, here's the deal. I guarantee you there's someone who's watching who's saying, hey, I wish I was 151. But the reality is 115 and 151 is a long way. And again, if you compare again to what we are inundated with, I mean, the reality is people were inundated with all these perfect, amazing bodies on Instagram. I mean, everybody's now an IG model. And I remember I had a conversation with a guy. It was a movie premiere or something. It was a movie junket. And this guy told me that he got off of Instagram because he couldn't handle these amazing vacations other people were taking. Right. And this guy said he had some nice vacations. He said, but literally, he had to get off because he felt his life was nothing when he saw these amazing vacations. And I was like, bro, are you serious? You letting that here and to your mind like that? And the reality is what you're describing. There are a lot of people that it is affecting them mentally when all they see is that's the perfect body. That's the I've got to starve myself and I've got to eat tofu and I got to do all this sort of stuff. And then they say, I can't do that. So then they give up and then now they're depressed and all upset.
Right. Yeah. I just feel like for me, and I can't speak on anyone else's journey. I know for me, I had to tap into who I was. I was like, look, that's cool on social media. People create these illusions. And then not only that, my following, people will reach out to me and they always, what do you eat? What do you do? And it's like, it's not about what I do and what I eat. It's what you need to do for yourself and your body. You need to learn your body. So that's what I was doing. I was relearning myself, relearning my body, relearning how to balance nutritional meals and keep the weight because I can lose weight easily. So I just had to learn me. I just focus solely on self. That's what it's about. Social media it's a scary world. If you get caught up in that, whew, you gotta pray for certain people.
Have you had some other fitness people who have said to you, Nick, you really shouldn't be doing this. You really shouldn't be saying those things. That's just really not what you're promoting. You should, it really should be about, having that just really, 1-2% body fat, and that's just not.
Oh no, I don't know any people in the fitness industry that would ever tell me that, or let alone say that. I think you should walk and live in your truth. And I think a lot of society is gravitating to positive body images. When I go into the Nike store, I see plus size models on the display now. And I think it's amazing. Not everyone is a small, skinny figured female or male, you just gotta just embrace yourself, love yourself. I don't know what else to say about that.
Absolutely. I'll go to my panelists here. Avis, what's your question for Nick? Avis is gone. Teresa.
Hey, so I'm truly inspired by the work that you do. So what advice that you would give women like myself who are in business and they have to pretty much do the work life and the self life and the fitness life? So what does that balance look like for you in terms of what you can recommend in order to help us through?
Oh, thank you so much for loving me. But what I can say is that you got to want it. You make time for anything else that you want. If you want to work out and have a healthy lifestyle, you have to make time for that. I think a lot of us make excuses. Oh, I'm a mom. I'm too busy. I can't do this. Or I have this busy schedule. You don't need to work out for an hour. You can work out for 20 minutes. As long as you're getting it in every day, that's all that matters. I hope that helps you.
Mustafa, Teresa, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's good advice. I know personally, I'm always doing probably 10 minutes to 45 minutes. It just depends on when I can get it. So I think that's great advice.
Mustafa.
Yeah, get in as much as you can. That's my advice, and make time for yourself.
Mustafa.
Yeah, Nick, this is Mustafa. I mean, thank you so much for sharing your truth. I think it's so incredibly important. We often talk about mind, body, and spirit. Could you talk a bit about where someone who's just beginning their journey start in that process?
Ooh, take it in moderation. Don't try to take this big leap of just like jumping in a pool of water. Take it one step at a time. When I first started working out, I did as the most effective. So I just feel like you should find something that works for you. It is definitely in the mindset. It's a mind thing. You have to mentally prepare yourself for anything, just as you would have to prepare yourself for working out. And that's how I start my day. Some days I want to do it, some days I don't, but it's all in the mindset.
I'm playing a video right now, Nick, and it's called Simple Resistance Band Workout. To the point that you just made there, and I often see you talk about this where you say, folks, it doesn't require you to go out and spend a bunch of money on exercise equipment to go get in a fitness, membership, whatever. Your deal is use something basic as a band to do your full body workout.
Right. My motto is do what works for you. I go to Marshall's, Ross, and I buy those bands. They come in a pack of 3 or 5. I place them around my ankles and above my knees, and I just get it in. It's hard if you're not ready for it, but it's simple if it's like, okay, this is something I want to do. I can get into this. I can create my own little regimen, and it works. It's simple yet effective workout. And I love when I teach my classes, a lot of my clients are like, woo, that killed me. Like being in an hour boot camp. And it's just functional training, body, learning the movements, learning how muscles work. I think we have to take the time to just educate ourselves on exercising.
That is something, but one of the other things is, and we got to get to this, obviously, is nutrition, because every fitness expert, and also for the people on YouTube, let me just go. A lot of times I like to ignore some of these people, but you always got some stuck on stupid folk. And let me be clear, y'all, this is the first time I communicated with Nick, so don't be trying to sit here and say on the show to get a number. I already have a number, so when y'all calm the hell down. 2, for all y'all women who are tripping, I've had numerous male fitness experts on here, so I need some of y'all sisters to stop hating on Nick's body. Oh, you got this woman you showing the videos. I've actually had more male fitness experts on here than women. So why don't y'all go look up Rodney Lennon, the brother who lost 130 pounds. We had him on the show. Go look at Jim Jones. Go look at Cutie. So some of y'all need to get a grip with all of y'all drama. Let's talk about nutrition.
You don't even gotta feed into that, bro.
No. No. I don't feed into it. I squash it. So some folk got to be checked and see. And what I do, I check someone by name, Jasmine on YouTube. See, I call them out. See when you run your mouth on YouTube, yeah, Aurora might call your ass out at the drop of a hat. See, they think I don't follow the chat. They don't realize I can host and follow the chat at the same time. Let's talk about food because the reality is every expert I've had on, they've said 80% of losing weight is your nutrition, 20% is exercise. And so you've talked about that. Some people are believers in protein shakes, others are not. Just for you, just some basic food tips, people. Is it a question of smaller portions? And the question, I hear people say eat 5-7 times. I'm still trying to figure that one out. But just your thoughts again on food.
Oh, so I can't really say too much on this topic. I am not a nutritionist.
Okay, fine. What do you do? What do you do?
For me, I have to eat. I require myself to eat at least 5 small meals a day just to maintain my weight. But if you're a person that's trying to lose weight, I would suggest you eat the regular meals, which are breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And if you would like a protein shake, no matter what stage you are, I never suggest anyone not eat at all. I know some trainers are like, drink a protein shake and have 1 meal a day. That doesn't work for me. Yeah, that's not even healthy. And it's not realistic. Food is like gas to a car. You got to keep going. You got to keep moving. Yeah, it is. So that's basically what I do. I eat 5 small portion meals a day, and I may drink a protein shake. I don't drink protein shakes as much as I used to. If I'm on the go, yes, I will grab a protein shake. But other than that, that's typically how I eat. My meals are, a lot of people think I'm vegan too. I'm not a vegan. I like to eat steaks. I don't have a problem digesting steaks. And I also think that people need to start eating according to their blood type. Everybody can't be a vegan. Everybody is not supposed to be a vegan.
Okay.
And yeah. And also drink plenty of water. I have a 30-day water challenge.
Yeah, you all about that gallon challenge.
Yes. Yeah, so I think that's important. You think your body's hungry, but you're really thirsty. You dehydrated. So
I got a question
drink your
here.
water.
Last question is from Karina on YouTube. She says, I haven't worked out in 2 months and I don't have the energy used to. I have to get into it to feel better. And she's right. Even just 30 minutes a couple of times weekly makes a difference. And so she's saying, I haven't worked. I just don't have the energy. I would say, yo, start with 10. If you're doing 0 right now, just start.
I'm gonna keep it real. It sounds like she's making excuses for herself.
Uh-oh.
Now, if she was my client, that's what I would say. And no hard feelings towards her, but you know what you're supposed to be doing. And you know that you've had a routine before. Just tap back into it. That's my advice. Stop playing games with yourself.
You're right. I mean, look, first of all, like somebody on Facebook said, Roland was on the road eating good. Actually, that's a lie. I actually lost 7 pounds in Georgia. Nice try. Because see for all the people who are watching, don't understand. And Nick, I saw you comment on my face about your face limit. Here's what people don't understand. And this is why also I track it with my watch. With COVID, we actually have become more sedentary. And by being on the road in Georgia these last 5 weeks, I saw how much body movement I had. I saw where I was getting in 13, 18, 20,000 steps a day. And I was able, because we were going here, going there, covering this. And so one of the reasons why I was able to lose that weight while I was in Georgia, one, I ate right, but also it was body movement. And one of the things that it taught me literally was that, hey, the importance of body movement. Perfect example. We're back today, and so we had some movement, but I'm at 7,307. So I'm under. And it's under. So movement, how important movement is, your body has to move.
Exactly. No matter if you're doing exercise or not, as long as you're moving around and getting that blood flowing through your heart, you good. And then get mentally fit. So we talk about fitness and exercising and all of these things, but you also have to get mentally fit and get grounded and prepare yourself. You got to have these self-talk with yourself. You got to speak these affirmations. It's a lot of work. You got to say, look, I'm going to get up, I'm going to do this and believe it and get up and make it happen.
Oh, you're right. Look, I got a gym in my house. At many days, I'm like, oh, hell, there's like, man, get your ass up is in your house. Ain't like you got to go out the crib, it's downstairs. So I got like a rowing machine, treadmill, a damn bike, and a weight machine plus bands. Yeah, ain't no excuse. So yeah, sometimes you got to cuss yourself out.
Yeah, get your ass up and work out. Come on now, let's get to it. We got goals we want to set. You gotta have those talks with yourself.
Absolutely.
If you don't get to yourself, who else is?
Absolutely.
You got to hold yourself accountable. Like, look, I want this. I got to do this. I got to get to it. I got to get to moving. I want to be healthy. I want to look good. And I feel like the older you get, the better you're supposed to look and feel. That's just how it is.
There you go. Now, I've had some people say they've been in your boot camp. And so if people are interested in your boot camp, do you only do them out in LA? Do you travel around the country? How can people reach you?
Oh, I used to travel on tours and do boot camps. I really don't do that anymore. I'm quiet as kept. I'm trying to put a little timeline on myself of training. I've been doing this for over 10 years now. It's getting old. I'm outgrowing it.
Well, what do you want to do? What do you want to do?
I feel like my purpose is bigger than fitness. I just want to start.
Like what?
Okay, let me tell you.
Hold on, wait a minute. Hold up. I'm going to do you like you do your class. What you want to do? Come on. What you want to do?
I need to step out and walk by faith and stop talking about it and be about it. That's what I want to do.
So, but what is that?
So I want to have these conversational pieces on my platform and talk about real life, personal things. I don't want to do a podcast. I want it to be very personable. I want to have regular people on my show, and I just want to be transparent and real with everybody about who I am. So nobody really knows my story.
So you want a show? You want a video? You want a video show?
Yeah.
See, that's why I asked you.
You help me out.
Well, first of all, I'm asking you the question. See, this is right here. See, I want to be about it. I'm trying to get you to talk. Now, understand, because this is what I do. This is
Right.
right. So this is what I do. You that fitness thing is what you do. This is what I do. So that's easy to help you do that. But a brother just needs to know that's what you wanted to do.
Yeah, I've been wanting to do it.
All
I
right.
feel like I kind of like toned down. I think people need to see my personality again, and just see me being fun and bubbly and just living in my truth and walking in my path and not giving a damn. And I'm ready to get back to that.
Oh, you trying to have Nick be unfiltered. All right.
I do.
All right, then. Well, look, we'll chat about that. I appreciate it. Y'all follow her on Instagram. You see it right there. NickBFit.com is a website as well. Nick, I appreciate it. Glad to have you on Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Thank you so much for having me, Roland.
I appreciate
God bless you.
Thanks a bunch. And y'all drink that water for her gallon challenge. All right. Teresa, Mustafa, and Avis, I certainly appreciate it so very much for y'all being on the show. Hope y'all got something out of that. Keep watching these incidents out here. We're going to keep following them as best as we can and holding them accountable. Folks, if y'all want to support what we do, Roland Martin Unfiltered, $4 make all of this possible. While I was gone, a whole bunch of y'all sending money orders and checks. I got a process. But I saw them and I so appreciate it. This is how you can support us at Roland Martin Unfiltered right here. You can go to Cash App, $RM Unfiltered, paypal.me/rmartin.com. It's /RM Zelle. Support us at Zelle, Roland at Martin John. That's it for us, folks. We will see you tomorrow. We'll be covering more of the issue that we care about. So stay tuned. We do always making it happen. And also, let me holler at Eunice. Eunice works with. I met Eunice. She's with Coca-Cola, but Eunice has her own. Eunice and Mia. She has her own line of these shirts. Love Yourself. And so she sent this to me a few months ago. But I told Eunice, I was like, look, the election is going on, Eunice, and so I'm not gonna be able to wear. I gotta wear all of the voting stuff. And so I said I'll wear it afterwards. You see, here's a photo of her on in her show. You don't see it. Sorry, I unhooked it. So I told her, I said I'm gonna wear it on the show. All right, so I'm gonna help you out. I'm like, so stop bugging me, Eunice. I wore it on the show. This is Eunice rocking. She's an AKA. She's rocking her Love Yourself shirt right here. You can go to her site, Love Yourself. Love always YJE. LoveAlwaysYJE.com. Some of y'all asked me about it, and so y'all can let's go ahead and pull it up. Y'all can actually see it. And like I say, she can stop me. When you gonna wear my on your show? When you gonna wear my hoodie on your show? I tell us the girl, calm down. I'm on a hoodie. Don't worry about it. So again, lovealwaysYJE.com. And so I think I mistyped it right here. Let me go ahead and do it. See, I didn't have it. It's up. Yeah, I'm actually typing. Here we go. I think this is it. There we go. So here's Eunice's website. You can check it out. Let me turn it that way. And you can see all the different T-shirts and hoodies. Right, Eunice, you got to send me for that project did for you. Yeah, I'll send you an interview. All right, y'all. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Right in Roland Martin Unfiltered. Glad in the studio. Off the sleeping in my own bed. All right, then.